Hey, this is Soccer in the South with Wolfman Jeff coming at you. How are you guys doing? As you know, I live in the southern United States. In the United States, they refer to association football as soccer. The state when I first started doing the channel, I was living in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Now I live in northeast Alabama. And in Alabama, football means a different thing. So that's one of the reasons why I use soccer in the name. The other reason is it just kind of fits in with soccer in the South. And but this channel is going to be full on just Wolves content. So going forward, I'm going to cover just Wolves. And one of the questions a lot of people have been asking me is, how did you become a Wolves supporter? Because it's not common, and there aren't a lot of Wolves supporters in my region. I do know for a fact that interest is growing. I've been using my connections with the local side, the Red Wolves, to talk about Wolves and getting some people to look and watch about them. And if they don't have a Premier League side, a lot of them are kind of looking at that. And of course, with the way they're playing right now, it's drawing a lot of attention. So you're going to see more and more Wolves supporters around the world. They're going to be coming in, and they're going to be excited. And obviously, we're drawn in by the quality on the pitch, the quality of our players. But I think the thing that makes me passionate about the Wolves really is the family. It's the Wolves supporters. And I got a chance to get to know some online, through YouTube, and some other areas of just kind of building friendships of people I've never met in person. And it's been quite remarkable. But you've asked, how did I become a Wolves supporter? Now, in the United States, for people who do follow Wolves, there's usually a couple of paths. It's usually they're from UK, in particular, they're from the West Midlands, and they've expatriated or they've moved to the US. Second, their family is from the West Midlands and or from the UK. So they're from a family of Wolves supporters, and that carried over. The third reason that a lot of US people started to follow, and most of you are going to guess it, is Robert Plant. Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin. He's a phenomenal guy. And I don't have to tell you his support for Wolves. But about 10 years ago, they made him vice president. It's an honorary position, but a lot of people in the States, they saw that and thought, well, that's brilliant. I mean, how cool of a club this must be to make Robert Plant your vice president. So I would say from that point on, more and more people in the U.S., when they were kind of trying to find a Premier League side, a European football side, that they were kind of giving Wolves a look that they may not have seen. I actually had heard of the Wolves when I was very young. I never saw them play because I think I was like an infant when they were around. But we used to have a side called the LA Wolves, the Los Angeles Wolves. And they actually were connected with Wolverhampton. This is back in the 60s. But I still heard the stories about them. But one of the things that they would, when they were talking about local sports, I grew up in Phoenix, not in LA, but we had a lot of LA coverage. But that had got mentioned a few times, and then about their connection with Wolverhampton, including the decision to call it they were going to be the LA Zorros, and they decided to be the Wolves because of the connection with Wolves. And so that kind of stuck in the back of my brain. 2009 came to consciousness again when I heard about the Robert Plant thing. I thought, well, that was cool. That fact came up again. I don't know how it came up in a conversation or something I was reading, and I saw that reference again about Robert Plant being the vice president. So I started to give a little more look. I was looking at the webpage for the Wolves, and then I noticed where you play. Molineux Stadium. Because around the same time, about 5 years ago, I'd gotten a little more involved in genealogy with my family. And that was something before my dad passed away, we were spending a bit of time trying to do. And even though this connection is on my mom's side, is I am descended from the Molineux, and my 15th grandfather, this is 14th century, so it's not close, it goes way back. But I had just read about him and made that connection. Now, he wasn't the Baron of Sefton. He was still, I think he was a lord who happened to live in Sefton, and his descendants eventually became the barons and had become, I think, viscounts, and then eventually earls of Sefton. So when I had noticed the name, I thought, well, wait a minute, I am Molineux. So when I noticed the name of the stadium, I'm going, well, that got my attention a little bit more. It was about 5 years ago. So then I started trying to follow Wolves. And that's going to be a video on its own, is trying to follow the Wolves from thousands of miles away. And I'm going to do a whole video on how that's gone. And it's been a whole lot easier now that we're back in the Premier League. But as I was trying to follow at a distance, mostly through the Wolves webpage, and just trying to keep up, I wasn't as active, certainly, as I ended up being. We were at that time, I think it was spring 2014, we were in League One, and Kenny Jackets was our coach, and I don't think he'd been that manager for very long. But through that first part there, they were able to rise up out of League One, but I wasn't able to watch any match at all. It was all just following news and trying to get to know the players just by reading summaries of matches, usually weeks after they happened. So it was not quite the most conductive, but I was trying to follow from that point on. Eventually, it grew and grew, and then as we got into the championship, I was able to catch a few matches on television, started finding some more things on YouTube, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But generally speaking, my interest in Wolves really comes from a family connection, with me being descended from the Molineux. Having said that, if it wasn't for the quality, and it's not just winning, but the quality I've seen with our side, with our players, and mostly with our supporters, and finding more of those supporters more and more, I became more and more passionate about Wolves. So it got to be from a interest and something I followed occasionally, and then over the past few years, more and more. So as the side grew and moved up on the table, we got more attention, more press, more of the matches were aired here in the States, and then I started finding more and more Wolves supporters, though most of them live nowhere near me. So that all just kind of built and grew. And I will say just this much, even though I'm going to cover a little bit more. The community in the YouTube community for Wolves content was key for me to want to even do this. Not to create the channel, but to make me feel connected with the Wolverhampton Wanderers. So guys like Dazzling Dave, Old Gold and Black, Talking Wolves, it's been something for me that has helped me feel like I'm a part of a larger group. And it started just by watching your stuff, commenting with you, talking with you, you answering my questions, and then eventually with me actually posting this out. So it's been a great journey, and I've been trying to evangelize, if you will, about Wolves everywhere I go. And I am more and more every day and every month, I'm more and more involved with what's happening here in my area for the promotion of association football / soccer. And so they hear me talk about Wolves all the time. And so it's been quite a lot of fun. Hey, thanks for just listening to this little rant, just kind of knowing where it came from. I'm not closely related to Benjamin Molineux. We're descendant. I think we were like 8th or 9th cousins, a few times removed. So it's not close. My branching off on the Molineux left in the 14th century, and that was my 15th grandfather. So, I don't have any claim to any land or anything. But at the same time, it was enough to go, well, I guess this is my side. And then my mom, my wife, and some other, my family, I've been getting them to watch, and we feel that we do feel a part of the family, not because of my ancestry, but because of Wolves supporters. So, come on, you Wolves. This has been Soccer in the South with Wolfman Jeff. This is my reaction video following our play at Wembley against Tottenham. My reaction? Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!